Hello, everybody on twitch.tv/Vince Russo Live, and everybody joining us on our live YouTube stream. I am here with the great Billy Botti, and Billy is going to give you a little preview of what's happening behind the scenes of professional wrestling. Billy, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. I just want to warn people this could be my last show because next week Austin's mum is going on a course, which means I take over the homeschooling. So I have to do homeschool every day next week from 8 a.m. till 2:30. And I'm not sure I'm going to want to live anymore by next week.
Have you ever done any kind of homeschooling before, like maybe just here and there?
It's the way it works is that so you go on. So what they're doing is the teacher goes online at 8:30, 10:30, and 12:30 for 30 minutes. They set the work. The parents do the work with the kids in those periods. So I'm in school essentially.
Oh my gosh!
So I sit in the background on Microsoft Teams, and we hear what the work is. So she does the teaching in that in the 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then you download the work to follow it up. But I think I find this shocking because I'm an educated parent who went to university and whatnot, and there are still things that come up like. I see long multiplication and I think, shit, how do you do this again? Like, like, am I supposed to really remember? There are some people, I don't want to pick on people, but there are some people that don't have my education. There are some people that don't have any education. There are some people that just are illiterate and just completely quit school. Or, there's reasons for everything. So it does put a lot of pressure on the parents. Like, for me, it's just a case of double checking a few things on YouTube, Google, and I'm fine. Or just listening or learning while, in the background, listening in the background of what he's supposed to learn. But I can imagine some parents are really, really struggle with this. I mean, we struggle just because Austin just doesn't think he needs to do it with us. And this was the problem. But before it was on Teams, it was just a case of they would just send stuff and you had to do it. This is a little bit different because he sees his teacher's face and then he needs to see his teacher's face again. And we all know there's a deadline on Friday afternoon. So work needs to be handed in, various work on Thursday, Friday. So he knows there's a deadline that exists, but he's one of these people that just think that he can finish stuff in the last hour. So he'll go off, oh yeah, can I just watch one episode of Cobra Kai? Can I watch a little bit of wrestling on the network or whatever, and thinks that he can just get around to it. He's like that. So
Billy, wait, the teacher comes on, then she gives you assignment, you go do the assignment, she comes on a second time, or just you got to catch her in one of those 3 times?
No, each 3 times they're just more and more work. So
gosh, bro. So you are in class. You're literally in class all day.
I'm in class because between when she comes off at about she goes on at 8:30 and comes off about 9:15, and between 9:15 and 10:30, Austin has to do the worksheet from what he just learned.
And then you go back on.
Yeah, then you go back on. I mean, obviously the work isn't marked. She doesn't mark it or look at it in that period. She looks at it the next day, and then obviously, so if it's on Monday, on Tuesday she'll come on and she'll leave a response and go, yeah, that was good or whatever. So she'll do it overnight. And have a look at it overnight instead.
Yeah.
I'm here. Oh, yeah, but you're right. I'm here overseeing everything every hour.
Yeah. All right, bro. Well, listen, give us a little tease on what we're going to discuss on the Nitty Gritty Dirt Show. For those of you watching the first time, me and Billy do an entire show on patreon.com/Russo TWC, where it gives you all the backstage news and information, what's going on in wrestling. So this is always a little a preview show to give you a taste of what Billy's going to do over there on Patreon. And sometimes he'll give you a story or so. So, Billy, what's going on as we get closer to the Royal Rumble in the WWE?
I'm convinced that else is stealing from me. I'm now convinced. I've been unconvinced before. I just feel like he's been behind. But now I'm convinced he's stealing from me. He's put a story out this week, which is part mine and part what he does, which is watches the TV and makes up. He's done it's either this or that. And I'm going to talk about it on the other side because I don't want to give it away for free what I think the main match at WrestleMania is. But he's gone down that path, and he's also said they're considering an alternative. So he's going to be right no matter what. So if I'm right with what I said, he's also going to be right because he said it's one of the options. But then he's also done his thing where he's watched the TV and he's given his own option. So I'm going to break that down on the other side. I'm going to talk about a couple of people that got COVID. I'm going to talk about WWE COVID protocols. This is a bit of a duplication because I also talk about this week on castrating the marks. But if you catch one of the shows, you'll see this part. We'll keep it short. We'll keep it down to like 5 minutes or so, explaining WWE COVID protocols and even talking about even putting the company over, actually, because they're paying people extra money, not necessarily to work, but just for their time. So we'll put WWE over, something that the brand and Vince Russo don't do. We bury everyone because we're so bitter. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about WrestleMania moving forward, what the plans are, 37, 38, 39. I've talked about this previously before. I'm going to reiterate some points, how a two-night Mania may now look in terms of Vince McMahon already swaying from what we talked about a few weeks ago. And I mean, without saying too much, that's what we'll talk about. You'll get a good feel for this year's WrestleMania and WrestleMania's moving forward with these, what I would think is two stories in one.
All right, now this is a big weekend for you, Billy, because we've got lockbetting.com here in the States. We got two huge football games. Can you tell everybody how they could get the best advice if they're going to put some scratch down on these games?
Yeah, in these games, we actually already have our plays. I'm going to be transparent. We already have our plays out. From what we have is, and it's good. If you were a member a while ago, you'll be absolutely buzzing for this weekend. If you've been a member for longer than 2-3 months, because my pick to win the NFC was the Green Bay Packers. My pick to win the AFC was the Kansas City Chiefs. So this weekend, we already have those as the AFC and NFC winners from a while back. We got the best possible odds on both teams. So we are just going to be looking at that this weekend. We will be doing props. We will be looking at over-unders. We will be looking at things for new people to bet game at the end if you're not involved in that. But for old clients, we will be we're guaranteed money, because when people may look at this video in a few weeks' time and the Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may have won, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, this guy lost all his picks." That's not what happens. That's not how things work at lockbetting.com. Once we get to this stage, the profit is guaranteed. It's not about gambling. I know what we do is sports betting and sports gambling, but I don't gamble. Like it's sports investment. So when we get to this position where we have the Green Bay Packers as a 3-1, and we have the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe they're at 6-4, and the Buffalo Bills are a 2-1 underdog this weekend, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a 6-4 underdog this weekend, what we will do is we will calculate how much we need to put on Tampa and how much we need to put on Buffalo to ensure that we make a profit. Obviously, we'll make it so that we make more profit with the original picks, because otherwise that would be no fun. There will be nothing to root for this weekend. But we will ensure that we don't take any losses from these games this weekend. That's just how we function. So that's more about the service as opposed to an advertisement for the playoffs this weekend. But in other content, there'll be looking at other content. There is always soccer. We've had a profitable soccer week. We've won for 11 straight days in tennis, and there's Australian Open at the end of the month. We win nearly every night in basketball, and we've started 13-4 in the NHL. So there's loads of other sports to bet on, and there will be some NFL stuff, but I got to look after my long-termers this weekend.
All right, Billy, what about, we did another episode last night of Podcast on a Pole. Tell people about that show, bro.
Yeah, Podcast on a Pole. The 2 months gone by, I'll just talk about for 1 second. Episode 1 is Vince's background, how he even got to the WWE. Episode 2, we look at all of the year of 1996, and Vince is actually laying down the origins of the Attitude Era through the pages of WWF Raw magazine at the time, and how Raw magazine influenced it. And Vince talks about everything that happened in 96. So you want to check that out. And then we do move on to 97. We are just getting 1 month away from Vince Russo taking over as the head writer. He's already working as a producer. He's already working, as he told us on the show, from 8 till 8. And we'll find out that everything that Vince Russo is doing from 8 to 8 between like producing and Raw magazine. We talk about the creative throughout the entire month of January as we transition towards Russo becoming the lead writer in the WWE the following month. So this is a very important show that you need to catch. And it comes out on the same day as the Royal Rumble. WWE got the Royal Rumble so late, and usually the show comes out the day after. So it's going to be on the same day. So Royal Rumble Day will be the day that Podcast on a Pole episode 3 comes out. Info at podcastonapoll.com if you want to read more about Podcast on a Pole. But just anywhere you get your podcasts, Google, Apple, iTunes, wherever you can get your Podcast on a Pole.
Now, Billy, is the Patreon for that set up yet, or you're in the process of that?
No, the Patreon for that will be set up on the 31st of January. We did not want to set up a Patreon that only had one exclusive interview on it. Like, we have now enough exclusive content to set up the Patreon. We have Vince's superstar profile of Linda McMahon, Ultimate Warrior, and Psycho Sid. So you're going to get 3 exclusive shows as soon as Patreon launches, and then you'll get an additional one every single month as well. You also get that's the only place where you're going to get the full video of the show. People ask where are these clips from, because what we do is we cut up the clips and you can see them on Vince Russo's YouTube. You can see us all sitting there. All of the clips go onto Vince Russo's brand YouTube. But the full videos from those shows go over to Patreon to watch all talk, like looking at us while we're talking and doing the show, because we're all handsome. Then you can go over and subscribe to the Patreon page.
Okay, last but not least, the Dirty Sheets, Billy. Tell them about that, bro.
Dirty Sheets is kind of the background site of this entire show that we do. The Nitty Gritty Dirt Sheets is basically looking at the news from Dirty Sheets. It's thedirtysheets.com. That's where I post all my accurate news before everybody else. But instead of just reading it, you can read it. You can get the news before everybody else for $5 a month, and then me and Vince will break it down. And obviously, you're looking here at the ex-head writer of WWE. So sometimes we hear stories, we get stories about what the crazy Vince McMahon is doing about this, that, or the other. Well, Vince Russo can get inside that mind a little bit better than most people. And when we analyze it on the other side, on the nitty-gritty dirt sheet, that's what we tend to do. We tend to get the background in these stories and as to why they may be happening. But if you want the stories first, head to thedirtysheets.com. My Dirty Sheets Twitter is at DirtySheetsCom. And my gambling Twitter is at SGP Soccer. And I mention that because if you look at the pinned tweet, that's the P&L. Every month, that is the P&L. And we post that every month. We've had 91 months of consecutive track profit. And that P&L for the previous month will always be the pinned tweet on my gambling Twitter.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to go over to the Nitty Gritty Dirt Show. We're going to talk about all these things in detail. If you want to get the news, if you want to get the skinny, and if you want to get the truth, Billy uncovers it before everybody, bro. You can go to patreon.com/RussoTWC. Bro, you can get on board for all kinds of content starting at like $3 a month, bro, which is the price of a cup of coffee. And there are multiple shows on there. So that's it, everybody. Listen, have a great weekend. We will see you over at patreon.com/RussoTWC.